So with that, we're actually going to leave PowerPoint till the end of the presentation, and we're actually going to walk through the steps of actually building a dashboard from start to finish. So the first thing we need to do when we're actually building this dashboard is actually to define a data connection. And we're going to do that within the, again, we're in the dashboard designer, simply by right-clicking the data connections in our workspace browser and saying new data source. And I need to open up my Management Studio because I am on a virtual machine and I do not remember the name of this instance. So bear with me for 1 second here. So the demo I'm building today is actually based on the AdventureWorks Cube. So again, I'll make all this information available to you after the presentation. I just need to copy this because it's a named instance. So the connection we're going to work with for this demo is a connection to Analysis Services Cube. And you'll see the other option, the other templates that you have available. So I'm going to go ahead and just select Analysis Services as the template. And when I do that, you'll notice immediately that a data connection is added. It doesn't have a name or anything. If I click over here to my actual website, and that's not the right website, we're going to close that so we don't do this throughout the entire presentation. You'll notice that already before I've done anything, that connection has already been created. So anytime I create an object within my dashboard designer, it's actually creating it out in the SharePoint library or in the SharePoint list. So I'm going to give this connection a meaningful name, and I'm just going to call it AW Cube. You'll notice it renames it over in the workspace. Back on the editor, I'm going to put in my server name. Now I can see this database because I've given the unattended account that this PerformancePoint instance is using permission to see it. If you don't see it listed here, then most likely the account that you're using does not have access to it. From there, I just need to select the cube, and you'll notice all the various perspectives that are available as well if you would like to use a perspective. And then I'm just going to click Test to make sure that the connection is set up. So once I do that, I've actually have my connection to the cube, and I'm ready to begin building the various objects that are going to be used within my dashboard. So for this demo, we're actually going to build just a couple analytical reports. Once we have those analytical reports, we're going to apply a filter or two, depending on time, to those reports. And then we're going to create our first dashboard. Once we have our first dashboard, we're going to go through refining that dashboard, and we're going to add some KPIs or a scorecard to our dashboard. So once we have our connection, everything that we're going to be working with is within the PerformancePoint content. Now the nice thing about the PerformancePoint content is if I create a report, it's obviously going to push that out to SharePoint. Anybody else that's coming in to build a dashboard can reuse that report. So that a single basically report or KPI or scorecard can be reused across multiple dashboards. So to get started, let's go ahead and right-click that PerformancePoint content, and I'm going to say New, and I'm going to select the Report option. Now within the Report option, you'll see all those templates that I listed out on the slide previously. We're going to be working with the analytical chart primarily today, and the analytical chart's kind of a cool tool because of how we can link it up within the dashboard so that the filters basically refine the chart. We can also, the user, when they're using this chart, can actually use it and jump into what's called a decomposition tree, which we'll look at as well. So I'm going to create that new analytical chart. The first thing it's going to ask me is what's the connection that you want to use? What data do you want to connect to? In this case, we're actually just going to connect to the AdventureWorks Cube. And we're going a little slow here. So once it's actually created the report, again, it doesn't have a very meaningful name right now. We've got our design surface here. You'll notice out here on the right in the details are our connections to the cube as far as our measures, dimensions, if we had any name sets, and so forth. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump over to the Properties tab here. I'm going to give this report a meaningful name, and we're just going to call it Internet Sales by category. Now, another nice feature that I can have is once I've done this, if I jump back over here to my SharePoint, I see that I've already got this report out here. Now, I can organize these to make this a little bit more manageable for my administrator or myself if I happen to be the administrator, and I can put this in a display folder. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Browse, and you'll notice that right now there's nothing out here but just the root folder. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it Reports. And we could nest these if we would like. So if I wanted to create a secondary folder under Reports and call it Charts. And now when we do that, if I come back out here, you'll notice that there's a display folder that this is associated with. And that'll make more sense once we actually have more than just a single piece of content out there. So let's go ahead and let's set this up so we can see how easy this is to work with. This is simply, again, all I'm going to report is by sales, internet sales amount. I'll also drag out internet gross profit, and I'm going to put those on my series. So those are going to be what I'm actually visualizing here. Across the bottom axis, I'm actually going to browse to my dimensions, and I'm going to select the product categories. So I'm just going to select my categories here. And you'll notice that right now we're going to change this rather than just saying all products. I'm going to, again, I click that little drop down arrow there. And I'm just going to right click on all products, and I'm going to tell it auto select children. So what that's going to do, and we'll get rid of the default member, is that's going to change my chart so that it shows all the categories that are associated, all the actual categories without the all level. So with this, my chart is finished. This is all I have to do if this is all I wanted to do.